talking about teaching drama. You may teach it already. Get in touch, tell me how that's going. You may be a part-time drama teacher. You may be a non-specialist. So you could be an English teacher. I know some schools have to use English teachers. I've even seen PE teachers doing it because of the practical element. Not really sure that that's a good fit, but I can see how English teachers could possibly do it. Maybe you're a music or a dance teacher. I know in schools I've worked in quite often, the performing arts teams would share it out because dance teachers were able to quite easily adapt to teaching drama. But I know when I tried to teach dance, it didn't go very well. So I would not want to do that again. And same with music, really. I mean, they're all very, very different subjects altogether. So yes, and also just on a separate note, I'm going to be maybe talking about this a little bit more next week on that. Well, I will be talking about this next week, but it has started. The Festival Education has started, and obviously this year it's online, so that's not great from my point of view, because I've been to it quite a few times, and it's a brilliant thing to go to. If you've never been, you should definitely try and go. Hopefully next year when it's open again. But they're obviously doing it online, and the advantage of that is you can get to see a lot more sessions because they're all online, they're all streamed like that, so you can just interact with as many as you want. But you go to the Festival Education website and register. You can then, obviously it's all free, you don't have to pay this year, whereas obviously when they do it physically you do have to pay, probably because they have to pay for the building and the staffing and the catering and all of that. But it's a wonderful, wonderful thing to do. I learned a lot from going to the Festival Education. I made some contacts, and it's just a really great place to go. So next week I'll be talking about that, and I'll be speaking to one of the guys who's running the festival to get a bit more information. But that's just a sideline. So if you are going to be doing that, they are kicking off those sessions. I think yesterday or today they started. So let me know, message me in the chat if you have been to any of those or you're intending to go to any, because I'd like to talk about it next week. So let me know if you have done that. But mostly really what we're going to be doing today is talking about drama and theatre. You know, you may be sitting there thinking, well, don't really see the point of it, mate. Don't really see the point of it. What do you do drama for? I hope you're not. But if there are people out there thinking, you know, I'm not sure why it's on the curriculum, or, you know, and there'll be other people who say it should be compulsory to every student in the land. And it can divide people. I think it's great for students to do it compulsory in years 7, 8 and 9. Obviously then it's up to them if they want to take it. And I know not all schools can do that. Not all schools have got the capacity or the subject specialisms to do that. So maybe your school, they only do drama in year 8 and 9. Maybe they only do it in year 7. I don't know. Let me know how it works at your school. But really, the benefits for me outweigh any of the negatives. I can't even see anything negative about why doing drama is a problem, because even those students are really, really resistant, or let's say shy. I've had lots of students like that over the years that start off in year 7 really, really quiet, and then through building a confident classroom and building an environment where they can express themselves, and as long as you've got that kind of that class and that relationship, over time those kids can really come out of their shells and start to be creative. And there's different ways of being creative, and Matthew talks about this in his book a little bit. You know, it could be creatively, you know, that you're good at designing, or you're good at coming up with ideas for your piece. You might not be the best actor in the world, but it's not about that. And I think sometimes the outside world or the media looks at it as drama is only for those people who want to be the next Benedict Cumberbatch, and obviously that is not the case for the large majority of people. But really it isn't just about that. It's about confidence building, teamwork, ideas, originality, creativity, and all of the other things that all subjects bring. You know, if you could look at history, couldn't you, and say it's not just about learning about facts from wars or etc. It's about learning the human condition and how we learn from the past and the future. So I think every subject has got that depth to it, and I really, really want people to know that drama does, as well as it actually being very rigorous. If you teach A-level drama out there, or BTEC, anything post-16, you will know how difficult it is. Drama A-level coursework is hard. I would challenge anyone to do a piece of drama coursework and then say the subject is an easy DOS subject, because it really is not. And yes, I've had students get A's at A level before, who were very talented, but they had to work hard on their coursework, and even the written exam is difficult because you're trying to learn about a lot of text, and there's a lot of history in there. There's a lot of art history and culture. Same as any A level, you know, you do a lesson on Wojciech, for example, which is quite a play that is used quite a lot on the A level spec, and you know, you need to know about Marxism, and so you know, you need to know about the whole period of Russian history. There's so much stuff that you need to know. You can't possibly cover it all, but the idea is that the kids have to engage with that, make it very challenging. So get in touch. We're talking about drama. If you are a drama teacher and you're listening, or you're on your way home, or you're just about to leave, or you're relaxing at home already, if you're lucky, or maybe you're at work just popping, you know, doing some bits and bobs, and you've got us on the radio on your laptop, that's brilliant. Hello to you. Let me know in the chat box what set texts you do. I'd be interested to see what exam boards you do, common problems, what productions people do. We haven't even talked about productions yet, but that is something I am going to be discussing with my guests today. And in fact, just as I say that, my first guest is now calling in. So I'm just going to click my button, and that should connect Matthew Nichols to the studio. And Matthew is my first guest today. Matthew, are you there?
I'm here. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear. What a lovely voice you've got, Matthew. that is a very nice drama teacher voice.
What a tired end of a Thursday, nearly the end of term, end of a horrible year voice.
No, it's like maybe it lacks possibly your normal energy, but you've definitely got a nice gravelly tone there for sure. No, nice, very good. Right, where are you from? Is it Manchester you're phoning from?
That's right. Yeah, I'm based in Manchester.
Okay, and have you always taught up there in that area, Matthew?
No, well, most of my career has been spent in the Northwest, but I started my teaching career sort of by accident in Birmingham. And that was where I taught unqualified for a year, which was a real, let's call it a learning curve. When I look back to the things I did in that year, I think, it's probably a very good job nobody in the school was really bothered about what I was doing. I don't mean anything dodgy. I just mean that it was it was somebody who didn't know what they were doing. But then I did my PGCE in Birmingham, and then relocated. So I've been teaching qualified now in the Northwest for 16 years, if I make it to the end of term.
Oh, God, I'm sure you will. No, that's interesting. That's about the same time as me. I think this would be my 17th year. Either now, I've just lost count, to be honest. But yeah, no, that's interesting, because now, so for my listeners who may not know obviously who you are, I obviously don't know you either. But thank you first of all for coming on the show and giving us your time.
Pleasure.
But I'm not ashamed to admit this, but obviously, you know, I've been doing this job for a long, long time, and I only fell upon you really through Facebook.
Right.
Someone, I don't think it was your book, or someone had reposted about your book. And from that, I thought, that looks interesting. What's that? And then suddenly realised, and when I spoke to some of my other colleagues, they were like, oh yeah, I know that Matthew Nicholl guy. And I was like, oh God. I was a bit embarrassed. I felt a little bit out of the loop somehow that I'd missed this guy. One of my friends was like, I don't know whether she did a course with you or something. And she said, oh yeah, I know about him. I thought, how does everybody else know about this? not me.
Well, I mean, for about 10 years, I worked in different roles for some of the main exam boards, and with one of them, I did quite a lot of. So I wrote the current GCSE specification, which is for one of the exam boards, and I did lots of training courses. And when that specification was being rolled out, and for A level as well, lots of meeting new teachers. So, I'm really, really rubbish with names, but I know the faces from the courses, and I could sort of go, oh, those are the faces I see in Birmingham, those are the faces I see in London. And so she may have seen me at one of those events.
It would have been that. Yeah, it would have been that, because basically in my history, my teaching history, teaching drama, that as I went into SLT, so my timetable kind of went down, and I taught less drama. And but I had a brilliant NQT, and she then became my head of drama. So she was the one who spoke about you. So it was probably because I didn't need to know as much about those new specs coming through as she did, you know. That's probably why she went on that course. And I think maybe if it was 3-4 years ago, I probably would have been on one myself, you know.
Yeah.
That explains it. So tell us a little about the book only came out this year, is that right?
Yeah, that's right. So the book, in a shameless plug, it's called The Drama Teacher's Survival Guide, and it's available from all the usual retailers, including the online ones. And it's been published by Bloomsbury, Methuen, and it came out in February of this year. And it was quite a long time in the planning and the writing, really. And partly that was me being a bit slack about getting it written. And weirdly enough, I finished the first draft 2 weeks before schools closed for the first lockdown last year.
God. Right.
So suddenly I was a bit worried that would the book seem immediately and completely redundant? Would it be out of date? So then, obviously, working through the lockdowns and through last year, it was the pre-publishing process of the different drafts and the editing, the copy, proofreading, and all that. But I think because it then also came out again in the middle of another lockdown, it was quite handy to publicise it. It meant I could do all the events from my house rather than having to go to places. So I quite like that. But it also meant that I think perhaps. And it's done really well, and you know, and I'm really happy with how it's done. And from the feedback I've had from teachers, I know people have found it useful. But I think maybe it landed at a time when we were all feeling a bit disconnected from our colleagues, however we were teaching and wherever we were teaching at that point. It wasn't normal, and you know, we were a bit disconnected from our colleagues and our students. And I think the impact it had when it landed might well be because of that people went, well, actually, this book might now, whether you're a newly qualified teacher, a trainee, or an experienced teacher, maybe this is the thing to kind of have a look at in terms of when we go back to our subject. Although there is no pandemic coverage at all in the book, it's not mentioned.
No, but I think it's interesting you say that, because when I first heard about the book, and I haven't finished it, I'll be honest, but I've read the first few chapters, certainly, and
I'm very upset.
No, I'm sorry. I'm very sorry. But the thing is that I initially thought, this has come out because of lockdown. Like, you know, this has been a thing you've always wanted to do, write a book. Oh, and now I've got the time. But actually, it's ironic that you had just finished it when that happened, because I find the book, what I've read so far, is I kind of went to it thinking, oh, this is going to be survival guide, as in terms of, you know, strategies, ideas, how to do great lessons. And it isn't really that kind of book, is it, at all?
No.
It's not really about that.
Well, the reason the book exists is simply because this book hadn't existed. Like, so there's lots and lots of subject pedagogy books, really, really good ones out there.
Yeah, loads of them. Yeah.
Qualified teachers will know. And then there's also lots of books that I think, if I call them drama games or drama exercises, you know, there's that sort of book.
Yeah.
But there was no equivalent of this book that sort of said it's not a textbook and it's not a book full of exercises, though I would say there's plenty of ideas in it. But it's more about, I've been doing this for 15 years, and in my role with different exam boards and Ofqual in a number of settings. And it was more about sort of, if anybody needed to read this book, it was me. So it was kind of trying to, and I think the thing was that when I started my teacher career, you know, qualified teacher career, I started in 2005, and things like, you know, we'd had Pop Idol and the X Factor was very, very popular. So and I'm not being trivial about it. Suddenly there was Saturday night, millions and millions of people were tuning into people who wanted a career in the performing arts. And then Andrew Lloyd Webber had those shows about where he found his different West End roles. So we saw I worked in the sixth form sector at that time, and we saw a huge, huge upswing in numbers. And it is also political as well. It really, really is political, that when the political landscape changed, when the Conservatives got in, things changed. I mean, literally in my situation, overnight. We had funding from a project pulled overnight.
I totally agree. Yeah.
And we're on the fight back. I'm blunt about it in the book. Numbers at GCSE and A level, or even their vocational equivalent, are on the decline and have been for the last few years. And I suppose this book is to say nobody else is going to reverse that decline for us. Like you've pointed out when I was listening to the beginning of your show, and we don't have a national curriculum, so we don't have that status that's automatically afforded to our other subjects. So we are going to have to stand shoulder to shoulder and make the case for our subject, and that isn't always easy.
No, and I think actually when you say that, it makes you realise that drama. I've been doing drama my whole life basically. I went into teaching. I didn't even think about all these things you're talking about now, but now I look at it, I think, are we really the only subject that is so susceptible to political change? Because other subjects, let's just say history or any science, they're never going to go off they're never going to go away. Quite rightly, but I think that we're the only one that a change of government makes such. I know that period you're talking about. I was part of a trust of schools, and we had a Trust Got Talent show where all the different trusts. We had auditions and heats. Worked at a specialist school in the arts where we got bags of money to bring workshops in under Tony, the Tony Blair, that government coming in, the specialist schools, all of that. And then literally, like you say, almost overnight, it's like, oh no, can't do that anymore. No money for that. No. And, we try not to be political on Teacher Talk Radio because it's not about pushing a certain agenda.
Sure.
But I think they're inextricably linked, aren't they, with drama? I don't think you can ignore that.
Absolutely. I was working on a project. I was still in the sixth form sector at that point, and it was an outreach project which we were running it on Saturdays once a month, and we were giving opportunities to our own students and to the students in our feeder schools. And this was in Bolton, and it meant that the money meant we could bring in really, really exciting performing artists from all sorts of different disciplines: circus skills, street dance, stand-up comedy, monologue writing, filmmaking. It was really exciting. And the college had put some money up, and it was match funded by the local arts, essentially the local arts council. And the money was coming in 3 phases or 4 phases, and we'd had 2 of them. And then the election happened, and the next morning I got an email saying, we can't do the rest of the funding. So we're in the middle of a project.
It's amazing how it happens that quick. You'd think it would be, okay, let's let these things run through and then we won't renew the contract. Do you know what I mean? You think it would be kind of like they would realise that there were young people's, lives and being affected by it. But anyway, that's just how they do things. So just to get it off the political vibe, and just talk to me a bit about what you think the COVID effect in terms of either student confidence in your classes from not having practical lessons for a long time, and the options and the post, the GCSE uptake. What's your take on that, Matthew?
Well, my take, I can only really speak from either what I know. I'm a head of department in a secondary school, and anecdotally from friends and colleagues who are drama teachers. But we, in my school, they opt for drama in year 9 and then again for GCSE. And we have, bizarrely, next year at year 9 and GCSE, the highest proportion of uptake of a year group we've ever had. Which we were all, pleasantly surprised, but still surprised about, given what the last 2 years has been like. And the part of me goes, is it because there's been a lack of, as well as I do, said that thing, and any drama teachers listening will know there is no substitute for the being together in the room experience. And however brilliantly and creatively people have coped with remote learning, it's not the same thing. No, it's not, and is it the hunger for that that's driven the numbers up? Maybe, I don't know.
No, so I think that's true. Yeah.
And I've heard tell of other schools where it's markedly not like that. They're really struggling to fill groups at GCSE and at A level. And I've heard of other schools where it's I don't know if there's, it's probably too soon to tell if there's any national picture about this, but one thing I'm acutely aware of, and we were talking about this just in my department this week, is that if I take my current year 8s, for example, so they went home halfway through their year 7 last year, and they were taught online for the rest of the year. When they came back in September, they had to be taught in classrooms because of the size of the school and bubbles and I'm not complaining that the school did that.
Yeah.
And then in January they went home, and then they came back in March, and they're back in studios but with masks on. So their experience in years 7 and 8 is so starkly different from what we would normally give them, that we think it's going to be very, very interesting when we get them to year 9 next year, and for the GCSE group above them, what are their practical skill sets like? What can they do? What do they know? And I think, I mean, I'm hoping and praying that everything will be back to normal in schools for September. And my school's own planning and my own departmental planning is in that direction. And I really hope that's the case. But I think, unfortunately, the real hard work for drama teachers, but probably for all teachers, but certainly for drama teachers, is going to come in the next few years as we deal with that gap of, and I don't, I'm not trying to be political here, but that gap in that learning gap, but for our subject, that gap of the practical collaborative experience that is at the core of the subject.
No, I totally agree. I think that is probably quite common, that the options may not be immediately affected, because there may well be a pattern of people who, because I've seen schools the same with music where they've had higher numbers when you'd think there would be lower, because we haven't done the usual selling that we do to get kids to take our subject, So that I think I would agree with. But I also agree with what you're saying about the Key Stage 3 lower down, because I think it's knocking their confidence, because they've not had that hour a week or whatever it is it's such a slow journey, isn't it, of a year 7 coming in who won't speak to year 9 being able to express themselves. It's such a slow journey of an hour a week, slowly, every little bit of good feedback, every little audience that claps, something they've done, every little buzz they get builds up, doesn't it? And I think I would be worried about those in a few years.
Yeah, and we're also asking them essentially to make options choices for a subject that they don't have a true experience of, through no fault of their own. We said, well, pick it for in year 9 or at GCSE, and they're going, well, I'm not really sure what it's like. If it's working in limited number groups, socially distanced, in masks in drama studios or in classrooms, that's not how we normally teach the subject.
No, I agree.
But that's been their experience, and I really feel for them.
I know, and I guess other subject. And please get in touch, anyone, while I'm speaking to Matthew. If you want to get in touch for the question for Matthew, or message in, or even call in when I finish up with Matthew to respond to what we're saying, then please be our guest. I mean, I guess the thing is, it is similar to other subjects where they're going to have lost confidence, but in a different way. Everyone's going to have that subject knowledge gap to try and plug. But I guess some of the online learning, I mean, my wife's a psychology teacher, and she actually said that some of the online learning was actually not that far from her normal lessons, because it was a lot of PowerPoints and research, and, you know what I mean? So she could actually do 90% of probably what she does in the classroom through the screen.
Yeah.
But obviously for our subject, you've got to be in the room doing it, making the mistakes, and
and I think that what the lockdowns have taught us, I mean, we can all deliver my school taught a completely full live timetable from the beginning of the first lockdown and through any lockdowns, and I'm really glad we did. But my word, it was tough. And it wasn't, you mentioned your wife, and I've spoken to colleagues in other what I would call desk-based subjects.
Yes.
That the work that they did online had to be adapted from what they would do to face, but it wasn't a complete rethink. Whereas we had to do a complete rethink in about 3 days in the first instance. We heard on the Wednesday that schools were closing, and on the Friday they were going home. And on the Monday we were going online at 9 o'clock. And we'd had, one training session on Microsoft Teams, and we had to. It was.
I think that's a common experience for a lot of people in the speed or the lack of speed in which the decision was made, and the notice period that staff got. And I agree, some subjects are easier to adapt. But so in terms of that, I mean, we did stuff more on. We were trying to think, what could we do? So we did more stuff on like live reviews, and we tried to use the National Theatre, production archives to get kids to write more, because that was an area we didn't really ever do in Key Stage 3, if I'm honest. And we tried to do that kind of work. and more designy type things. But what did you end up doing mostly with those?
Well, like you, we were very, very pleased to have access to that National Theatre Archive, and we extended it for this year. And I was glad that we had. And we did some script-based work, and we did design work, and we made podcasts, and we had to lean in that direction. And I do think there comes a point, though, when I found myself thinking, am I teaching English lit? Because, with for my sixth formers, it was, right, well, now's the opportunity to plough through live theatre, albeit not live, and a set text, but we can't really do the devising work or the scripted practical. So we did all the others, but I did feel at times it was a bit drifting towards English lit. And so that when we came to the second lockdown, again, very, very short notice. I think we got locked down on the Monday night and my school was going back on the Wednesday. But at least we had the prior experience, and we'd all worked on Microsoft Teams, and we knew what we were doing. Well, we sort of knew what we were doing with Microsoft Teams. But I know that the second time round, we were definitely a bit more creative, and in our we pushed the capabilities of it. So, for instance, my year 8s created their own pieces of puppet theatre, where they would adapt an existing children's story and make their puppets and the stage and film it on their camera phone and use their own lighting from, torches or, I want to say not matches, and their own sound. But that was something that they could do individually, that if we went back into schools, because we weren't sure when, we could resume it in a studio. And it would mean that I felt it was creative. I felt it was sort of about, and I would never do that sort of stuff in my day-to-day drama teaching. Maybe that's it's a learning curve for me.
I know, but maybe you think because that sort of stuff. I mean, I remember my son getting some sort of homework like that, where he had to do a movie on his phone, and it was great. It was brilliantly creative, and he created something that he was proud of, and all the rest of it. But I still feel like some of the reasons we don't do those things is because they are independent projects. They're things that you can get someone to go away and learn about how to use the tech. But really, most of what we do is collaborative. I mean, even monologues, the monologues is the kind of, it's the fail-safe thing you can do if kids are in isolation, isn't it? Oh, okay, get them just to do a monologue and they can. But I still think that isn't everybody's cup of tea. For me, I got into drama because I like the working with other people and doing a production with a cast and the ensemble. It wasn't always about me doing the solo, although I liked that. Don't get me wrong. That wasn't the be all and end all,
No, and that practical work you mentioned, the Ofqual decision about keeping the NEA stuff the same for next year. And I was very, very relieved to hear that, because if I think about the amount I've got through with my current year 10s, it's taken me the whole academic year to cover what I probably would have done in 2 terms.
Exactly.
And suddenly, thinking, I've got, how many scripted extracts do they have to do next year? Well, if it's 1 rather than 2, I don't mean it makes life easier. I think for them, it's an appropriate adjustment. I think I'm glad that decision's been taken. And I'm really pleased. And I'm really pleased to see it's been taken now, that we can start doing some planning this side of the summer, because, I say we've earned it. We've surely earned the right to think, right, I don't want to be hesitant or fretting over the summer, or certainly when I come back in September wondering what will we be doing.
I mean, everyone's happy to do the curriculum work now. And I'm sure there's lots of people out there, people think teachers are crazy. But even after this horrendous year, we'll still be sitting there thinking, right, I'm going to do some planning in the summer, have a few weeks relaxing. And, whether people agree with that or not, I don't know. But certainly all we want is that clarity in terms of the timeline. And of course, things may drastically improve. Let's imagine everything does improve and the virus goes away. We still need to know, like you say, right, I'm definitely going to be doing this until, August 2022, whatever. I can do everything, plan it, and then relook at taking it off. So I was pleased that they made that decision, but more importantly, like you say, that they made it now and not months down the line, because people there's enough stress in the job as it is without worrying about what you can and can't do.
Absolutely. And,
Uh,
with tags for this last term, I have never known anything like this in the 16 years I've been doing this, or in any work I've done with exam boards or with other schools and colleges. I can say now my department has submitted electronically its final GCSE and A-level tag
Well
results
done.
today.
Well done.
And the deadline's tomorrow, but the amount of, and quite right too, checking and cross-checking of data and decision making that's gone into it to ensure that it's done.
Everyone's happy for you. Happy for you. That's for getting the tags done.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. I really do.
Just a small crowd that appeared.
I don't think people, perhaps outside of schools or education, really understand. People think, oh, there's no GCSEs and A-levels this year. Yes, there are. We've been doing that.
I know, but that's the other thing I hate. You didn't hate the phrase, and I'm sure the listeners will agree, of schools reopening. Well, when did they ever shut? That's what makes me laugh. They never actually shut. It's just we just did it from home. This
my school, we were doing a full online timetable through all the lockdowns, and when students had to go home to self-isolate, they were taught remotely whilst at the same time as we were delivering lessons, and the school remained open through the lockdowns for children of key workers and for face-to-face learning, as well as through some of the shorter school holidays. So it was more than, I know the whole school wasn't in, but we were still all doing it.
No, of course. Right. Well, listen, Matthew, I'm loving this conversation. I could literally talk to you all night, because obviously you're a man after my own heart. But I am aware of time, your own time, and guests, and I've got to do news and adverts and all the rest of it. But before you disappear, I have a little game that I created, which I play with my guests before they go, because sometimes it can get, well, not that we've got too heavy, but sometimes it gets very political and heavy. So I'm going to play you my jingle that I made, and then you listen to the instructions, and then if you're happy to play, we'll play the game before I let you go. Is that all right?
Okay, let's do it.
Here we go. The rules of the game are quite simple. You have two choices, A or B. You have to decide which of those options you prefer, with no explanation, no justification, and no judgment of your choice. It's just a choice, a simple choice. Listeners of the show can also take part, but will never know their answer. So the time is now, the pressure is on for you to
take your pick.
Okay, you happy with the rules?
Wow, I mean, that's intense. Yeah,
that is again me getting too into something, I think. Right, here we go. So there's no justification. I'm just going to do it. People at home listening, they can do it as well. Right, okay. Here we go. There's 10 of them in total. Number 1, Game of Thrones or Lord of the Rings?
Is that A is Game of Thrones, B is Lord of the Rings?
Yeah. Just
Lord
say whichever.
Lord of the Rings.
Right. Okay. Will Smith or Keanu Reeves?
Oh, Keanu Reeves.
Kebab or chips in pita?
Kebab. Exclamation mark. Tick.
I know that. I love the reaction, because I never ask people to justify it, but from people's reaction, it tells a lot. Coke Zero or Pepsi Max?
Pepsi Max. Ugh.
Monopoly or Pictionary?
Monopoly.
Gary Lineker or Gary Neville?
I don't know who they are. Gary Lineker.
I was going to say, the only problem with my game is, because I don't know some of my guests very well, I'm a bit like, will he know who they are? I think
I do know who they are, but I couldn't tell you. Don't ask me. That's about.
That's it. You don't really care. Inception or Interstellar?
I've only seen one of them. Inception.
Okay, fine. Yorkshire or Lancashire?
Well, I've got to say Lancashire, haven't I?
You have, really. July or December?
December.
Okay. And then finally, a little one for me. Brecht or Arto?
Oh, Brecht.
Okay, interesting. Right, lovely. And that's how the game goes, really. You can play it all night long, really. But I really, really love talking to you, Matthew, and I'm going to read the rest of the book. And,
you too.
I hope that anyone who is listening, drama teachers wise, I will keep pushing it on the Twitter for you, because I think it's It's a book that is very interesting because it doesn't give you answers, it doesn't tell you how to teach, but it, from a what's the word I'm looking for, from a sort of psychological point of view, I found it's a really nice read after the year we've had, because it just makes you feel not alone and part of a bigger thing. I think that's what I liked about it so far.
Well, I'm really glad you've enjoyed what you've read, and I hope you enjoy the rest of it. And you've got Matthew on in a bit, so
I have. I've got another Matthew, so I better.
I know it's the Matthew show, so you're gonna have a great rest of the show, I'm sure.
And we will. Listen, thanks so much for your time. Keep in touch with the show, and keep in touch over the Twitter as well. Take care, Matthew.
Will do. Take care, Seb.
Cheers, mate. See you later.
Bye. Bye.
Okay, so that was Matthew Nichols, and he is a brilliant drama teacher. I know I've never met him, and he's written a fantastic book. And I know we're not here just to plug books, of course, but I think I would be a bit remiss if I didn't promote it, because it's a great read, especially if you're a drama teacher or if you know a drama teacher. It's called The Drama Teacher's Survival Guide. And it is that. It's not really about telling you how to teach or pedagogy. It's just about realising what we do and how hard it is, and some of the things about it that make you feel a lot better. So we're gonna have a quick news break, and then I'll be back with my other Matthew very shortly.
This is Teachers Talk Radio, and this is Teachers Talk Radio News with Megan Goods.
This is your latest Teachers Talk Radio News. A new study published in the Science of Learning journal has found that children who enjoy school are more likely to be successful than those who do not. The study found school enjoyment strongly associated with later achievement in age 16 compulsory GCSE exams, even after adjustment for socio-economic background and cognitive ability. Pupils who reported enjoying school scored on average almost a 3-grade increase across all subjects, and were 29% more likely to obtain 5 or more A-star to C GCSEs, including maths and English. The report also found that at age 6, girls were more than twice as likely to state that they enjoyed school than boys. The latest figures show that students are now more likely to choose to continue with their education. Of last year's cohort of school leavers, 66.5% were in higher or further education 9 months after leaving school, the highest number since records began in 2009. The number of those in employment went down, however, from 28% to 21.3%, the lowest figure since records began. Students that were unemployed rose from 5.8% to 6.8%, and higher education was the most common destination for school leavers at 42.9%, followed by further education at 23.6%. That was your latest Teachers Talk Radio News.
Live from London, this is The Drive Home with Seb Ventura on Teachers Talk Radio.
Good afternoon, everyone. If you're just joining me, it is coming up to 10 to 5. Today on the Drive Home show, we're talking about drama, teaching drama. What is the purpose of it on the curriculum? How do you teach it? What role does it have in your school? Please get in touch through the Podbean app, through the website, or hashtag TT Radio, and join the conversation today on Teachers Talk Radio.
Live from London, this is The Drive Home with Seb Ventura on Teachers Talk Radio. Tune in live on the Podbean app or desktop player. Just head over to www.podbean.com/LSW/TT Radio or search Teachers Talk Radio. Follow the hashtag TT Radio.
Good afternoon, everyone. Hope you're enjoying the show so far. If you've been with me since 4 o'clock, or even if you've just joined in. We've just had a great game of Take Your Pick with Matthew there, picking some really interesting ones out of the two. And obviously later on, I've got another Matthew coming on, Matthew Russell, who's my next guest, who's also a drama teacher from a little bit closer to me here in Chelmsford rather than Manchester. But it was great to talk to Matthew. I hope you enjoyed what he had to say. I certainly enjoyed it as a fellow drama teacher myself. So what we're looking at today, guys, looking at your opinions on drama. If you are a drama teacher, get in touch. What text do you do? What exam board do you do? I'd like to find that out. If you're not a drama teacher, just to talk to you about any subject, but you've got an opinion on drama, the impact it has on students, how it's been affected, how student confidence has been affected by not doing drama. I think actually this year of students not being able to do the subject in the proper way, I think that is more of an indicator that how important drama is than anything else. Because effectively we've almost done a research project of what happens if you take drama out for a year, what happens to students. And I don't think there's any coincidence that, you know, anxiety, mental health, overall confidence, enjoyment of school, I don't think it's a coincidence that those things have increased whilst practical subjects have been reduced. And I know it's nobody's fault, and I know I'm not blaming anyone, because obviously it had to be done. Same with design technology, the same with food technology, dance. It's not just drama, but I think kids don't just go to school to learn the core subjects and just to pass GCSEs. They learn to develop creatively, to work on group kind of projects, and to learn practical skills just as much as they do to learn academic. And also then throw in the mix of things like concerts, showcases, Christmas concerts, school productions, all of those things that kids get the social aspect of school from. And I think if COVID's taught us anything, it's that school isn't just an exam factory, and that kids need to go to school for a lot of other reasons. Sarah's just messaged in. Afternoon, Sarah. Thanks for being for listening to the show again. Sarah says, I'd argue it links directly with the news article we just heard. Definitely has impacted on enjoyment. Well, again, I'd have to agree. If the kids don't enjoy going to school, they're obviously not going to learn as well. So let's just keep championing the arts, and let's keep making people realise that subjects like the arts, like drama, like dance, music, all these other subjects, creative subjects, design technology, there's lots and lots of them. You know, kids love doing them, and you know, it doesn't mean they're not rigorous. It doesn't mean they're not hard. As I said, A-level drama is very, very difficult, and as is the GCSE. You know, I was fortunate that I was very confident at drama, so you know, GCSE I found quite easy, but the A-level was more difficult because it became more academic. But there's lots of students out there who you know, really develop lots of skills. They gain so much confidence. I've so many kids I've seen when they say they don't want to perform, I don't want to do it, I don't want to do it, I'm scared. And then when they do it, they're buzzing, they're relieved, because it makes them realise, you know, they're not going to die from it. It's not going to hurt them. And providing you've got a good, nice, you know, room of students that behave nicely and act respectfully to each other, there's nothing that's going to happen. And half the time you get those kids do something and their friends and their peers say to them, oh, that was really good. And that is really, really lovely and rewarding. So I think we've got to keep doing it. Welcome to anyone else just joining in on the show. As I say, we're coming up to 5 o'clock soon. I have got another guest just coming up after 5 o'clock, Matthew Russell. He's a drama teacher. I'm going to be talking to him. But please use this opportunity, get in touch. If you're listening, message me like some of you have done, or just call in, click the call in button. I won't be speaking to Matthew for a good 10, 15 minutes. So there's plenty of time if you want to just click the call in button on the Podbean app, or if you're listening through the website, click the call in button and just get in touch. Call the studio. I've got a Teachers Talk Radio mug sitting here, shiny, brand new one in a box that's ready to be posted out to anyone who calls in and joins in today. So that is on offer. I don't see how you could resist, personally. So yeah, hello to those people joining in the studio. Are you drama teachers out there? Are you drama teachers listening in, or are you people who are just interested in drama in general, or are you just teachers that are doing your usual chilling out, listening to Teachers Talk Radio, which I hope everybody does at every opportunity. We're approaching nearly 5,000 followers, so I'm very excited about that. Yeah, I'm going to do a quick ad break just while I gather my thoughts, get ready for Matthew. But as I say, after the ad break, if you want to call in, join the conversation, some questions to think about. What's the purpose of drama? Should it be compulsory? What role does drama have in your school? And what has the effect of students not doing drama had on student wellbeing? So quick ad break and then we'll be back.
Introducing Amanda Davey. Amanda is one of the first specialist teacher assessors for dyscalculia in the UK and offers dyscalculia tutoring and bespoke training for schools. With 26 years of teaching and tutoring experience in the UK, Amanda offers specialist online tuition focused on building confidence and developing skills. Amanda also offers online and face-to-face training on dyscalculia for educators, informing practitioners as to how to identify children that may have dyscalculia and how to support them in class. Find out more about Amanda and what she can offer you at www.amanda-davey-dyscalculia.co.uk. Creative Resources, made for teachers by teachers. At Creative Resources, we've been rethinking what a classroom can be. We've created a huge range of more than 2,500 original and exciting resources that span across more than 15 different subject areas. Whether you're looking for primary or secondary level resources, careers options, PSHE, arts or humanities, Creative Resources have the resources for you. We offer full curriculum packages and unique, challenging escape rooms themed on topics such as Shakespeare, Tudors, and fractions. We have quizzes, task cards, Tarsia puzzles, and lots more. Better still, more than 100 resources can be accessed for free. Just visit our website, www.cre8tiveresources.com. You can get 10% off any order you make on our website by using discount code TTRadio. Creative Resources, made for teachers by teachers.
Welcome back. So join This Is the Drive Home with me, Seb Ventura. It's coming up to 5 o'clock on a Thursday on a somewhat less hot and muggy hot day than we've had. Obviously, a little bit of rainfall yesterday has cleared the air down here in London. I'm not sure if that is the national picture, but I certainly think there's been a bit of a change in the air pressure. Hopefully, we'll still get a nice weekend of sunshine. So today we're talking about drama. Please get in touch if you currently teach drama. Maybe you teach it full-time, part-time. Maybe you're teaching drama as a non-specialist perhaps, and you just want to get in touch with about how that's worked on your timetable. Maybe you're doing drama next year and you're not so confident about it. Maybe you've just got a new job as a drama teacher, an NQT or a trainee position. Either way, get in touch. We've got a bit of time before I speak to my next guest, Matthew. I'm not sure exactly how long Matthew's been teaching. I will be asking him that. But I know he's been around the block for a bit. And I know that he's always does really good productions. And I know that he's a subject specialist. So I'm going to be asking him some similar questions that I asked the other Matthew about things like the effect of COVID, drama curriculum, productions, and stuff like that. But get in touch. Also, another thing we've been talking about a little bit today, I've mentioned it briefly, and I will be doing this more next week, is the Festival of Education. So Festival of Education is obviously a big, normally a big live festival, where there's lots and lots of famous people, authors, pedagogy experts, academics, professors, teachers, all the big names are usually there, the big hitters. And like a music festival, you go around and you have a little timetable and you pick, it's all stranded. So 10 o'clock, there might be, David Didow and Professor Coe and Carol Dweck, all on different places at the same time. And then you choose which one you go to. And they're sometimes quite quiet and other times they're packed. Sometimes they're big lecture halls, sometimes they're small little rooms. And it's usually at the Wellington College, but I don't know if that has been the case every year, but it's certainly been at the Wellington College when I've been in the past, and it is really, really good. So this year, obviously, because of COVID, they're doing it online. So you can go to the Festival of Education, it's free, and you can drop into any of the, I think you have to register first, and then you can drop into any of the sessions that are the speakers that are on there. So in a way that's easier because you don't have to go anywhere, but it's not quite as fun as walking around with your friends or your colleagues and visiting different things and having a bars and getting an ice cream and chatting about something you just seen. It's just a social thing, which kind of links in with what I'm talking a bit again about today's drama as a social activity, as a way that students interact with each other in a way that they don't do in normal lessons. They're not sat behind desks. It's not mostly solitary. The group work's not seen as a sort of special add-on that you might get in some lessons. Group work is 90% of what you do, 95% probably of what you do. So even within that, I think there's so many social skills. When I first started teaching drama, I just thought, yeah, it's just about making kids better at acting. I genuinely thought that's what it was. And within a few years, I soon realised actually group work, you've got a form, let's say a form class, 30 year 8s. They seem like they're all friends. They seem like they know each other, but actually, you know what it's like within a group like that. There's little cliques, there's little groups, people who are popular, people who are not, the quieter kids, the more academic kids, and every form has those characters. So when you force students, not force is a bit harsh, but when you ask, the expectation is that they work with other people that are not in their friendship group, it is very, very powerful. And anyone who hasn't seen a drama lesson like that, I highly recommend you take half an hour out of your free period when if your tags are done and you're easing off a bit. If you've got half an hour, go and watch a drama lesson. If you've got a practical lesson going on, go and see the interactions of kids, how they act differently to what they do in normal lessons. It is fascinating. Same for me when I've gone to see normal subjects. I've been shocked how kids are so different. So yeah, that whole thing of group work, and quite often some weeks I'd say to my students, okay, you can pick your groups, but on the whole, most drama teachers will tell you that's a bad idea, and you should pick the groups, number it, or decide randomly who people are going to work, or you might do differentiated groups based on ability. But either way, the point is you sometimes get a resistance of, oh, I don't want to work with him, sir, I don't want to work with her, I don't like her. And it always comes back to, I would always say, okay, you're not actually here to be becoming friends. You've already done that. This is collaboration. This is working together on a project. And you do that, and then what you then find is either new friendships come. So sometimes you do school productions, you get kids in year 10 becoming friends with lower school students, and that's lovely. Same with when you do trips abroad, performing arts trips or ski trips. You always get that kind of thing, don't you, of kids in other year groups maybe getting to know each other. And just that whole thing of working with other people that are not necessarily their friends, and some of those children being challenged by each other's ideas or views or cultural backgrounds. I think it's absolutely fantastic. Sarah's put, I love doing it. You learn a lot about individual students' characters. I presume she means doing drama in her lessons. As Sarah's a history teacher, she's probably talking about doing drama work there too. Or maybe she means her own acting teacher role. So yeah, so that's what we've been talking about. I'm very brief. Oh, Sarah, sorry, she's clarified now. She loves visiting drama lessons. So yeah, that's definitely one I'd recommend to people. In the same way that I would always recommend to NQTs of drama or trainees to go and see other subjects. I think there's a lot to be learned. Hello to some of the other people entering the studio. Thanks for joining us on this lovely Thursday. I hope people have been enjoying the football. Not everybody's cup of tea, but obviously tomorrow night is a very, very big game. So I'm quite glad that my show is today and not tomorrow, because I will be probably preparing myself for that match by imbibing some liquor of some description. But yeah, so I hope everyone's well. I thought everyone's feeling okay. Matthew said he's very, very tired, that I just spoke to. And it's interesting. I think this is a common thing across the profession. I think people are probably going to just sort of limp after the tags are done, limp to the end, sort of, really. But you've also got, the pressure for preparing for next year, haven't you? Getting rooms sorted out, sorting curriculums out. SLT probably putting pressure on people to catch up, which isn't always the best. I think a lot of people I've seen on Twitter talking about this and, leave teachers alone for a little bit, which I do get. But I also see the other side of it of some things have been left, and things still have to move forward for next year for the students, you know. So unfortunately it never stops, does it? But we can all have a very, very lovely summer break, that is for sure. Even if we're not allowed to fly anywhere, it's going to be staycation central again, isn't it? Which, at least for the UK economy, is good for places that like the Lakes and Cornwall and the Isle of Wight, places like that, which are all lovely if the sun's out. We're just in trouble if it rains all summer. But anyway, let's not think about that. So yeah, as I say, Matthew is in the studio. I'm hoping he's going to call in a moment, and yeah, click the call in button, Matthew, when you're ready, and we'll have a little chat about drama from a different teacher's point of view, and get some ideas. Here he comes. So Matthew's calling in. He's managed to work the tech out, so that's good. And any second now, he should be with us. Matthew, are you there?
I think so. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Yay!
Yes. And I can also see you're
putting me down as if I can't work the tech out. That was really, really windy earlier. I nearly had a heart attack.
Oh, there's nothing to have a heart attack here. I love the Stormtrooper icon as well. That's that's very impressive. Right, how are you doing today, Matthew? Are you tired? Are you feeling up for another few weeks of term, or have you had enough? How are you feeling?
Bring on another 3 years, then I'll stop. No, it's all good. I think for everyone, it's been so tough, and I think especially for, not that I'm trying to blame your own trumpet or whatever, and be biased towards drama teachers, but I think everyone's had a tough time, but in particular the drama teachers have, especially during the lockdown, having to transpose the lessons from practical based to theory based. But yeah, I mean, we're on the same boat, aren't we, Seb?
Yeah, that's true.
It's been so weird and so hard, and we are currently living through history, aren't we? I mean, and this.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. This is unprecedented, as they say.
It's crazy.
It is crazy. So yeah. So I wanted to ask you. I don't know if you heard my interview with the other Matthew.
I did. He's got a gorgeous voice, as you said.
He has, hasn't he? I know.
I love the fact. As soon as you like emailed both of us, we literally exchanged WhatsApp numbers straight away. We've been doing midnight texts. He's been sending me.
Oh, great!
Interior designs. We're now best buddies.
There you go. So I'm a matchmaker as well.
Very much. I'm very happy. I've made a new friend. So
good. Well, I think drama teachers are quite good at that, generally, making new friends quite quickly, from what I've seen on network meetings. But yeah, so good. So I wanted to ask you a little bit about the effect of COVID, in your opinion, on confidence and your options uptake.
Oh, goodness me. Where do you start? Yeah.
Have you got bigger numbers for next year, or has it gone down?
Well, we have got. I mean, the numbers have gone down. I mean, we can't really beat around the bush there, and the reason is most likely to do with the lack of drama preparation they've had in Key Stage 3, and the lack of interaction they've had socially, and the lack of skills that they've missed out on. And we have lost some numbers. The impact of it, I mean, I don't know how. I mean, it's really, really interesting listening to Matthew earlier, and also some of the points you were both making in terms of the difficulty that we had in terms of being a practical subject and trying to transpose lessons into theory-based lessons. I mean, there has been an impact, and I think when we started the lockdown back in, I think it was March the 21st last year.
Yeah, March.
I found it quite, it was quite a novelty, sort of like trying to make these little lessons fun, just to put online and then say, okay, kids, just do what you can. And I was having the odd bit of work coming back, and then when we came back after the summer, we thought it was going to go back to normal again. It didn't.
Yeah.
And then quickly afterwards, in January, we're back in lockdown again, and I think January to March is when I personally found it the hardest, because I think I'd almost exhausted all of my ideas in the first lockdown from transposing lessons from practical.
Yeah, of course. I mean, that's the thing, isn't it? You do that, don't you? That first, I agree with you there. I think that first couple of months, it was, for us as drama teachers, there's a lot of opportunities, isn't there, for things that we wouldn't necessarily get to do. Because we're doing mostly practical, we don't get time to watch as many productions or do that theory as much as we probably would normally. And so I think that was a great opportunity, and I agree with you. That first period from March to May was a little bit, oh great, now we can do some script writing, and you come up with some great ideas. And me and my colleague Emily, we came up with some nice ideas. But then that second bit, it's a bit more like, all right, okay, now this is not really funny anymore, because there's only so much of that you can do. And it's the same for design technology teachers. They've had the same exact problem. They can't do the workshop, so they've had to do like design projects on paper and not actually get any tools out. But now they run out of things to do. They've run out.
Absolutely, I completely agree. And I felt more embarrassed about my ability to try and keep my year 10s engaged, because there was a massive class of 31 in there. I was very lucky to have a big class of the year 10s, and it started off like, we had let's say 25 login for live lessons, and that all, and they'd mostly contribute. And I'd say, okay, we're going to look at this extract from a script. Let's do some extracts. Let's do some like sections. We'll do some like breakout rooms. Come back. And that was fun, as you mentioned, for the first maybe 2 or 3 lessons, and then gradually you notice in the chat room, we did it on Microsoft Teams. Gradually the numbers start dwindling, and then it gets from 25 to 14 to 9 to 8, and then eventually you're left with two kids. And I was thinking, I think over the weeks, everyone must have been going, oh, I've had enough now. I cannot do any more online learning. And I mean, I was tired. My colleagues were tired. My team was tired. But then at the same time, I can't be selfish, because if you think about our students who were sitting in front of a laptop for 5 hours.
It's terrible. It's terrible.
And I cannot imagine, what they were going through. I mean, yes, I was tired. Yes, I was frustrated. But our poor kids.
It's so boring. It's so boring for them, isn't it? As well,
mustn't it? Yeah, it must have.
But that's the other thing about coming back into that. When we came back from whatever lockdown it was, I've lost track now. But the fact when it was all, I don't know about your school, but obviously most schools had zoned areas, didn't they? So you've then got not only the fact you're not doing practical subjects, it's the fact that you've got a group of year 7s or 8s or whatever or even year 10s is even worse, trapped in a room all day and only going out for break. It's like prison. It's literally like prison. You can go out and you do a little bit of yard work and walk around in the playground, and then you're back in the cell. I know that's a bit dramatic, but I just felt like the kids were so cooped up. They were cooped up.
It's true, completely. And I think the credit, I mean, you could always expect, logically, that if you're going to have this sort of regime where the kids have to stay in one particular room, the seats are all the same, the teachers will move around, you're going to get a lot of I guess behavior management issues. But for some reason, and maybe I've just misunderstood or misread the data, our behavior management, as far as I can see, went down. The students were actually, they responded incredibly well. They've been really, really, really mature in sticking to their zones. But obviously it's weird and it's very strange. It
is weird. But I mean, you've got to think about those year 7s as well that come in, and normally they would come in and they would see a massive site and go to different areas. And for them, it's just like primary school, because they're just in one room all the time. And then I've heard of people saying about less behaviour at lunchtime because the kids are all kept separate, so they don't have those behavioural issues because the years don't mix. And then there's obviously the issue of year 7s being a bit, say, cocky, for want of a better word, because they've not been, they're not in the hierarchy of the normal school, because they've not had that thing of being, not, I'm saying attacked or bullied. I'm not talking, you know what I mean, though, that kind of thing. You go to school and you're starting again at the beginning, and it kind of, the year 7s are usually a little bit more kind of calmed down from that period. But
exactly, yeah. But I think credit goes to the students, all around the UK and the world, really.
Yes, definitely.
Dealing with this, because it's been, what has it been now? Over a year of their education?
It's over a year. Yeah.
So, I do feel incredibly sorry for them. If only there was something else more we could have done. But
no, there's nothing we can do. Yeah, there's nothing we can do other than, like I said before, I think the decision to, extend those non-exam assessment, periods for GCSE and A level, I think is the right decision, because they've got to have that time to catch up. And then it's what we do. So in terms of that, talking about curriculum to get away from COVID for a bit, is what are some of your best schemes that you do with your 7s, 8 and 9? Now that, imagine like it's September now, Matthew, and COVID's gone away and we're back to normal. What's
Yeah.
some of your favourite schemes of work that you like to do that the kids like?
Well, the thing is, traditionally, when I first started teaching, I went into, I started my training in 2005 with my sister, actually, not Emily, Abby. She was my line manager back in St. John's School in Epping, and I was really, really thrown into the deep end there, and I was introduced to lots of schemes of work, and my perception of what I was delivering, it was very, very dark. There was lots of schemes around about. Um, Poverty, famine,
Deaf,
racism,
yeah.
always
Yeah,
death,
yeah,
death, death,
yeah,
death,
yeah.
all the time. And I'm not, trying to hide the fact that I don't, but I do. I mean, we have schemes of work that I wrote around the Aberfan disaster. We have a scheme that I did about Derek Bentley and Chris
Yeah, yeah,
Craig.
classic.
All those, the classic traditional drama schemes. But I mean, there's some great ones. I went on to I forget which publisher it was, but I found some great books by Alan Ayckbourn, particularly one called Ernie's Incredible Hallucinations.
Oh, I know
Probably
that
heard of
one.
it.
Yeah, I love that
Absolutely
one.
love
Yeah.
that play, and I did a little scheme of work on that, which makes you sift through the play very, very slowly, scene by scene. They do some practical exploration based
Yeah, I
on
love it.
character
Yeah.
development, and that's brilliant. There's a scheme in Year 8 I do based on a play called Sparkle Shark by this.
Yeah, I know that. Yeah, yeah.
Sparkle Shark. Anything by Philip Ridley is
Philip
just
Ridley, yeah.
gold dust. And we do that in Year 8. And again, it's all just very tongue in cheek, perfect for the age group. Year 9, I've got. I don't know if you've heard of it. I only stumbled across this play. I think it was 2005, 2006. It wasn't that long ago, but it's called Blue by this Irish playwright called Ursula Rami-Sama. And it's a very naturalistic play, but it's got these stylized sort of like Berkoff elements in it as well. And it's about isolation, people getting to know their inner self and their relationships within each other. And I love those schemes. I normally try and get some of the depressing ones in the I guess maybe out the way first, so it it almost gives the students a sense of respect of how to I guess identify and resonate with some issues they're currently dealing with worldwide.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I love to end on a good script for each year group, and I think that does sort of like make them look forward to Year 8, make them look forward to Year 9, grab their attention for Year 9 to maybe do options in Year 10. But I mean, if I had to pick a favourite, Seb, it'll probably be Sparkle Shark. They get to say a lot of words in that one.
No, no. But that's quite interesting, because I think that opens up a couple of interesting debates, I think, about drama teaching. One is the idea of, I talked about this earlier, so I'm not really going to go over this again, but the idea of, script versus devising. And like you talked a lot there about scripts, you talked a lot about script text work. And I always found that, depending on the school you're in, can be a barrier to getting the kids up and doing stuff, because the words and the access of the language, So I have taught Ernie's before, but then I kind of stopped doing it for a bit, because I felt like I was spending too long decoding the language and the stage directions, and not enough time with them doing it, if you know what I mean.
Fair play,
So I think that is a balance in the curriculum. And the other one, what you touched upon there, is the idea of issue-based or skill-based. So I will hold my hands up and admit, I probably, if I looked at all my schemes from the last 15 years and put them in a list, I'd probably say 70% of them were probably, in your mind, a bit dark. Because that's just my personality. So therefore, I was all
no,
but not in a bad way. But that's just like Tim Burton-esque, or like that's what I don't really like. Happy, jolly kind of things.
Sure.
And for me, it was like drama is about the dramatic heavy. But I know from working with other people, they kind of did say, "Oh, this is a bit depressing. Can't we do something else?" So I think it is a balance you've got to get right as well, isn't it? Otherwise, it is too much of one or the other, really.
Definitely, I completely agree with that. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, I do genuinely enjoy teaching text-based work, because it does have its connotations and its links with English literature, which the schools love. Cross-curricular stuff that within subjects. It does tick a nice box there. Not that is the reasons ticking a box, but it is really, really good to hear students like bring to life stuff.
Yeah, of course. Do you ever do that like consciously, like this thing of some schools will, you know, they'll do Blood Brothers in English and then say, "Oh right, can you now do it in drama?" Or do you steer away from doing those sort of doubling up?
That's a really
idea?
good question. I love that question because initially I had a choice of 3 plays which I'd always like tend to take the kids to see or write about for their theatre review, and they were it was Blood Brothers, obviously, Woman in Black,
Obviously, yeah,
and The Curious Incident of the Dog in
yeah.
the Night. And those 3 were like, you know, if I can't get one, get the other, and so forth. And they
Mm.
were the only ones I used to, well, I say only, like quite arrogantly, found it quite easy to do, like, you know, school bookings and so forth, until War Horse came along, and that, you know, people went to go and see that. I used to
Yeah.
steer away from doing the same thing as the English department, because I thought it'd be quite individual, you know, a little bit more forward thinking, giving the kids a bit of individuality,
Yeah.
you know, just step away from what they were doing. And, you know, the responses we got, the evaluations were good, they were articulate, they picked up on many elements, which sometimes I used to, you know, I couldn't find. And the coursework and the written response, and even the verbal conversations we had after were great. Then about 4 or 5 years ago, I think it was when they introduced an inspector calls into the
Yeah.
component 3 specification. What do you do? Do you do AQA? What's your
Oh,
specialty?
we used to do edX. I've done all of them really. I used to be OCR. I did Edexcel originally. Then I moved over to OCR. Then I went to AQA because I found in the end they were much of a muchness. You know, they standardised them all a bit, didn't they? A few years back when the new GCSEs come in. Now, there's not really that a lot. I suppose apart from set text, you would argue is probably a choice, isn't it? Really.
Yeah, there is. I mean, as I've been doing Edexcel since I started teaching, I'm sometimes a little bit afraid to
Change,
move.
yeah.
But I mean, I think, you know, sometime maybe in the future I'll start looking at the other ones available. But what I was going to say was the Inspector Calls was obviously one of the text on there, as was DNA. And I started teaching DNA, and I thought, well, it's a little bit too dark. I mean, you would have loved it. Have you read DNA?
Oh, I love doing that as well. Yeah, I love.
I thought so.
Yeah, no. I mean, that's it. That was the play that I read, and then was immediately like, yeah, definitely doing this.
Yeah,
you know,
destruction, murder,
death, depression. We'll have that. Isolation, bullying. Yeah, ticks. No. But there's so much you can get out of DNA, though. You know, it's just to. I mean, I tried to do a comedy scheme of work, and it was just a disaster. You know, it was. I honestly say that. You know, I hope my listeners understand. I see myself as a funny person generally, but we thought, let's do a comedy scheme, and so we tried to break down what would be the elements, and let's do slapstick, and let's do double, you know, doubling innuendos. Let's do all these things, and it was just a disaster because what the kids found funny, you know, we didn't. So they're doing these bits of work that we're all like, this is so embarrassing. And then when we showed them clips of comedy programs, you know, they were like, what's this rubbish, sir? This isn't funny. And it was like, do you know what? I think the age gap is too much for us to do it. So I was like, let's just go back to Death and Destruction. I can't. So I would be interested to see, you know, I'm sure lots of drama teachers do lots of topics that are not depressing, like yourself.
Well, I think
it's
because, I mean, I totally see where you're coming from. But what I did find was I was advised that my year 10s were currently studying and Inspector Calls for the English literature and English literature, and they were enjoying it. So I found a couple of schemes, adapted them, made them a little bit more Matthew, and so I could deliver them. And then I taught it just for as a prep component 3, which is a written exam, just to see if the knowledge and the skills were almost transferable, or they could work in tandem together. And I personally found the results were excellent, because they were coming to my drama lessons sometimes from an English lesson having just been taught on Inspector Calls, and in some cases they probably go, oh, I've got to do double Inspector Calls, drama, music.
Yes, exactly.
Get my head in. But and you might have that to start with, but we explore it practically. We look at it from the director's perspective, the performer's perspective, the designer's perspective, and when they put those elements into performance, when we start to spotlight and we do feedback, the feedback doesn't just include, you know, the physical presence of the actor or how they're holding the role or how they see the scene. They start to use the contextual evidence from learning English as to back up their arguments. And I
Yeah,
think
no, that's
together,
interesting. Yeah.
I found that really, really, really helpful. So I'm going to
Yeah.
that for a little bit longer.
I think that is interesting because I did the same with Blood Brothers, where we did it. This is a while back, but you know, we started doing it, and that thing I was talking about a minute ago about the text becoming a barrier, because we did Blood Brothers and they'd already read it in English. That suddenly I didn't have to dwell on everything because they knew the characters, they knew the story, so I didn't have to waste time explaining stuff, you know,
Yeah.
and we could get on with them bringing it to life. But there were a couple of times where it was like, oh, not this again. We've done this in English, sir. Oh, you know. And it was that balance between you get the advantage of you can do advanced stuff, but then you get the flip side of overkill. If they've done it, you know, to death in English, and then they come to drama and the start of term, and then you get out the same script. So I don't know if there's really any right answer to it. I think there's probably pros and cons to both aspects, I guess.
Yeah, I think, I mean, different things work at different schools, different students.
Yeah, true.
But, yeah,
true.
but currently, I think as far as it goes, it's working for me, and it's not just a tick a box. I mean, I think it is really developing our students' knowledge on you know, how to really delve into a play text in a fun way, whilst also understanding the knowledge as well. So it's working at the moment, I'd say, for me.
Great. Well, whatever's working, keep doing it. That's what I always say.
Yeah.
You know, you're not gonna change something that works. Right. We're running out of time, so I'm gonna do quickly. If you don't mind playing the game, did you hear Matthew playing the game a minute ago?
Yes, he played.
Did you catch that?
beautifully.
Right. So
I
you.
the whole thing. Yeah.
Yeah. So you are going to. It's the same game, but you are going to have obviously different categories, because I know you slightly better. Yeah, no, it's the same game, but you're just going to have different. You're not going to get Monopoly or Pictionary, for example. You're going to get different ones. And I've done one of these every week, Matthew. Every episode of my radio show, I've done for my different guests a different list. Okay, so right, I'm going to do the jingle and we're in. Okay.
Sweet.
The rules of the game are quite simple. You have two choices, A or B. You have to decide which of those options you prefer, with no explanation, no justification, and no judgment of your choice. It's just a choice, a simple choice. Listeners of the show can also take part, but will never know their answer. So the time is now, the pressure is on for you to
Take your pick.
Okay, not quite to the level of your Christmas videos, I think, but anyway, right, here we okay, right, so here we go. Number one,
Yes.
Terminator or Blade Runner?
Terminator.
Number two, Lion, the Witch and Wardrobe or Alice in Wonderland?
Neither. Oh, do I have to
You
pick one?
can't. You have to pick one, mate. That is the rule.
No. What's the one? Okay, Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe.
Okay, 1989 or 1999?
For what reason? What for? Just
Any reason at all? Like that you might like that year. It might be. There's no explanation. It might be no
okay.
explanation.
Right. Emily was born in 1989, so I'll go with 1999.
Okay, nice. Surf or turf? And I mean by this in terms of food. In case you don't know, I've never had to explain these to anyone, Matthew. So you're killing the game here.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Surf or turf?
Turf.
Right, thank you. Craft beer or bottled lager?
Oh, I don't like any of them. I'm a cider man. Can I say?
Can't say that.
Oh, I can't say that. Okay. Crafted beer.
Okay. Fantastics or Chewits?
Chewits.
Okay. Kelly Brook, I presume you know who that is, or Kelly MacDonald?
Do I know who that is? Yeah. Kelly Brook.
Okay.
Kelly Brook, sorry.
Yeah. Greece or Italy?
Greece.
Okay. Ben Chilwell or Luke Shaw?
Who's Ben Chilwell?
He plays
Luke
for
Shaw.
plays for Chelsea now, but
Oh.
and then your final one is they're both England left back, so they could both potentially one. You've got to choose. You're Gareth Southgate. You've got to choose one of them. Freeze frame or still image?
Oh, still image all the way.
Yeah, that's the right answer. Yeah, good. Okay, brilliant. Well, that's it, Matthew. I'm afraid it's been
What do I
great to
win,
talk to you. You don't win anything. No, you don't. You don't.
There was a cup involved. Like shiny
Well,
cup, you said.
there isn't, but you could, if you want, because you've been a guest, you would probably be allowed, if you go to the website, if you can cope with that much technology, and go to the website and apply and say you're a guest and you phoned in, and you just, I think if you leave your details through the mailing list, they will send you a mug. I'm pretty sure they'll send you one.
Do I have to pay postage, or is it
No,
free?
it's postage free because you've been a guest on the show. So just try that, and you should get a nice Teachers Talk Radio mug. I'm getting a Teachers Talk Radio T-shirt coming through the post, so I'm excited for that.
Lovely.
Yeah, so I'll be putting that all over Twitter. Don't you worry. Right, listen, thanks for calling in, and really nice to chat to you about drama, and keep in touch. Okay.
No, thanks, mate. You have a
all right.
I'll speak to you soon, Seb.
Yeah, good luck. Thanks a lot, mate. Bye bye.
Buddy. Bye bye.
Bye. Right, so that was Matthew and Matthew. So this was the Matthew show, or the drama show, coming to an end. One more shout out to any drama teachers that are listening. A bit of cross promotion here, but please follow on TM Drama Icons on Twitter, because there will be a drama webinar in a few weeks' time. Saturday the 3rd of July. So that's a little plug for that. But if you are a drama teacher, that is something I would definitely recommend, because there'll be lots of people networking on that, and some special guests. And it's totally free of charge. You don't have to pay, but you need just to go to the TM Drama Icons. So if you go to the TM Icons website, the Teach Me, that stands for obviously Teach Me Icons. Go to the website, you'll see all the subjects are there and dramas there, and there'll be a live link to that webinar in a few weeks. But that is it. I hope everybody enjoys the football tomorrow if you're watching it. If you're English, especially if you're Scottish, I hope you don't enjoy it quite so much for obvious reasons. Hope you have a lovely end of the week tomorrow. Remember, Kate Jones's show tomorrow morning, Genevieve's show later on today. So please keep listening to my colleagues and the other hosts. Next week, we'll be looking at Festival Education. So I'll have a guest from there. And that's it. Keep plugging away, guys. And we've got a few more weeks to go. All right. Have a nice evening, everybody. Take care.
You've been listening to Teachers Talk Radio. Tune in live and listen back at ttradio.org. We look forward to hearing from you next time on Teachers Talk Radio.